Delirium, the second part to Decay, has just dropped inside of Piggy, and in today's video I want to explain the chapter in depth, along with all the little secrets that I managed to find while playing the chapter. I am going to have a few more theory videos I think coming up on the channel about Delirium because there's a lot to unpack, but without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. So first I'm just going to start off how and explain how the chapter really goes. So let me quickly do that. You go into normal decay, and while you're running away from the twisted rabbit, which is not Bonnet, which I'll get onto later, but while you're running away from the twisted rabbit in the first chase, there is a door to the left. When shooting the door, you get teleported into a forest. Now, again, it is kind of unclear which ending is actually canon, Delirium's or Decay's, since if you go through Delirium's path, you never actually get shot by Henry, as Bunny this is. However, I'm actually going to go and say that Delarium is probably the canon ending, as it would be kind of stupid if they made this whole update for an uncanon ending. I can't really lie. But hey, I'm not going to be the one to judge. That's just speculation. I'm going to presume Delarium is probably the canon way to decay. But anyways, after teleporting to this forest, you go into a playground where you have to solve a quick puzzle with noughts and crosses before going down a slide. You get jump scared and then get teleported into some sort of soft play area. While in the soft play area, you also encounter three other memories, like some sort of party room. There's also a arcade where you actually see Gloria, aka Teacher. Teacher's name has been revealed to be Gloria, who is playing with Bunny, confirming that they both knew each other and were friends, childhood friends, that is, as well. And there is, of course, the mall section, which it seems to be like a mall. I'm going to guess it is like some sort of mall, which is really interesting. Another point to mention as well, there was a picture in this area, like a drawing, that actually had Bunny, Gloria, and Shiloh on, which is actually Sheepy and Teacher. Their names have, again, both been revealed. I'll get more onto those in a second. But moving on from this, you will, again, fall through. Well, you'll run out of this locked door that you have to unlock. You'll fall through the floor and you'll get into a quick little chase with some of these shadowed, infected creatures. When you then lead up to walking up to Bunny's home, where in this house, you will go ahead and actually notice that there are two gravestones outside the house, which could represent Bunny's family, maybe passing. Maybe something happened to her parents or maybe her sisters, which would be quite sad. But while in the house, you go ahead, you unlock some sort of room, which you then get the basement key from. There's a little bunny toy, which is very creepy, does some creepy stuff. You go in the basement, the toy locks you in the basement, and then you get put into a chase with this rabbit creature. We don't know who this is or what this is yet. But I did brighten this image up that I'm going to pop on screen. This is what it looks like. It is like a hand. It is also in the interactive Piggy RP if you want a closer look at it. But it's like some sort of hand, and on the fingertips of its feet, there's different heads. So like there's Bunny's head, there's Sheepy's head, and more heads, which is really, really, really interesting. But once you escape the basement from that creature, you then move on to a school, which you then encounter the Chained, which I believe is Bonnet, which I'll get onto in more detail later. But obviously, you move on to the school, you go in the school, you solve that code, you open a door, and you leave the school, all while dealing with the Chains. And then when you leave that, you are then brought into like this memory sequence in like a forest area. The Chained attacks you while you are then also defending like the infected or like these shadow creatures. So while you're defending them away from your friends, there's Mr. P, there's Sheepy, there's Teacher, and there's Bunny's family, Brella and Bonnet. Now the interesting thing here is that if the others die, you will not die, but if the family, if Brella and Bonnet get killed, you will die and you will lose, and you'll also get like an ending screen, which I'll pop up on screen now. But that is honestly really interesting, that the fact that you only have to really protect them two to win the map. So really interesting, honestly. But all of these characters are in like different areas, which I'll get onto in a bit. Well, actually, I'll talk about them now. Mr. P is in the hospital looking over Mrs. P. Mrs. P is not there though. Sheepy is in some sort of waiting room, maybe to like a lab or probably to the hospital, I'm gonna guess, or in some sort of like room, like an office as well. It's quite interesting. Uh, Brella and Bonnet are in the hospital, like main area where Barry spawns. Um, and then Teacher's probably the most interesting one. Teacher is in a laboratory. She's in some sort of like lab, which is probably where Mr. P did the cure, which is actually quite interesting. Maybe like a hospital remodel, but in some sort of laboratory. But anyway, the ending of the chapter is interesting. Bunny's like falling, probably because of hallucinations, and she falls over, right? And then these infected come to attack her, but then they get burnt by Sheepy, who Sheepy and Bunny then have a conversation. Sheepy tells Bunny to follow her, and Bunny does. They walk off together. They walk by like a tree as like a transition, and as they do, they both become infected, and the cutscene ends with showing both their infected versions walking off. Now, let me explain this ending in more detail because a lot of people are confused. What is going on here is it is confirming what we thought in part one. In part one, obviously, Bunny saw a mouse who she thought was infected. She shot them. They weren't infected. There was a survivor, and she killed them. Henry then walks in and sees it Bunny as an infected, where Bunny just sees Henry normally, or maybe Bunny does see them as an infected. We see it in Henry's POV when he sees Bunny. Henry then shoots Bunny, obviously, and that all happens. We all know what happened in part one, but this basically confirmed that an infected will see survivors as infected. That's why they chase. So, why is Sheepy uninfected to Bunny? That is because we have learnt something brand new. Infected will see other infected as survivors. This will explain why they do not attack each other, which is really interesting. This is why the infected don't attack each other, because they see each other as survivors. What is also interesting is that this kind of is weird, like in the factory, why Coley doesn't attack Willow, and like in chapter 12, why Mr. P isn't getting attacked by Badgie. We're not too sure about that, but let's just focus on Delirium for now. So it's actually really interesting. Obviously, we know that Bunny's infected. We know that Sheep is infected. There's no happy ending for them. They are gone. But overall, this chapter gave us quite a lot of info. We now know Teacher and Sheepy have a proper name, Gloria and Shiloh, which is really interesting. I've said that a lot in this video. Now let me get onto some secrets. So in the house, there is like a picture of like some sort of creature. There's two, but here's one of them. I'll put it up on screen now. I talked about how in the soft play in one of the areas, there is also a drawing that a young Bunny probably did of her friends. I've talked about how you can also see Gloria and Bunny, who is Teacher. Again, probably confusing a lot of people me saying that. But in the arcade, playing on the arcade machine, which is, again, really interesting. I've said that a lot. Again, I'll stop, I'm sorry. But yeah, honestly, can I just say as well, this chapter was really good. I really enjoyed it. And that's pretty much it explained. I am going to have quite a few theory videos that I'm going to do. But before I end the video, I'm going to start off with my first, like, quick thing. So, Brella is the Twisted Rabbit in part one. And Bonnet is the Chained. Not actually, but they're represented by those creatures. Bonnet is the Chained because the Chained is wearing like a purple outfit and you can see flowers on the Chained. So that represents Bonnet, and that would mean that the Twisted Rabbit would have to represent Brella. Meaning that it was not Twisted Bonnet, it was a Twisted Brella. That's probably what it is. That's not confirmed again, but we were wrong that was Bonnet. It's probably like a representation of Brella. This also begs the question, which ending is canon? You'll have to let me know in the comments, guys. What do you think? Do you think Delirium is canon? Or do you think the part one of Decay is canon? Which do you think really happened? Personally, I think Delirium is, because I can't imagine them working so hard on this and then it just not being canon. But anyways, guys, that is Decay part 2, fully explained. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next video. I've got a few coming up, so see you later, guys. Bye bye.